Hello. I want to tell you the story of the Mergetato. So, where I work, we all have a shared code repository that we work against, and whenever any of us merges our code with master, it kicks off a continuous integration process that builds master and puts together a release candidate that we can then deploy. Once that happens, or once that starts happening, it becomes kind of inconvenient for someone else to merge into master. We could use a combination of GitHub actions and some common sense to just prevent someone from merging to master while something is already building against master. But what we've actually decided on is a much simpler and more human powered solution, which is just that we keep track of who is currently running the merge in the topic of the Slack channel that we work in. In doing so, we know, someone else is currently running the merge, so I shouldn't run a merge right now. This is kind of a generalizable problem. One of the things that you might have to deal with in any given situation is like, whose turn is it to order lunch, or whose turn is it to clean the dishes in the kitchen. It's all sort of just a I called it a human mutex because I'm a nerd, and that's a distributed systems concept. But ultimately, the idea of Mergetato is I built a little website to solve the problem of whose turn is it. And the question is, it can be, any number of different questions. But whose turn is it? So one of my coworkers pointed out that the thing that we'd been calling the merge mutex was the Mergetato. We're passing around a hot potato, and if you've got the potato, it's your turn to merge. So we noticed that Mergetato.com was available, and I decided to register it and build this piece of software, which is where we're at now. As a side note, I am an idiot. We've well established this if you know me at all. And I thought that I could build this in one evening. I was like, how hard is it to build a mutex that people can share on the internet? It's basically a to-do application. There's no software to this at all. I could finish it in one night. And in fact, I had something up and running in one night, but it was utterly without user interface and basically completely unusable. So I finished it in one night, he says, with big air quotes, but actually I would say that this took about 5 days to finally polish to the point where I would be willing to show it to other people. So here we are. I'm showing it to other people. It works now. So this is the Mergetato website at mergetato.com. It says it's not secure. HTTPS numbers? That should still work. I don't know why it links to it went to the wrong. Okay, well, anyways, go to mergetato.com to get started. I'm going to put a button under here to, actually get you into the application, but you can start by creating a Tato. Read and accept the terms of service. Legally, I have to ask you to do this, but I don't give a shit. Prove that you're a human. Click on some bicycles. And I'm in the application, which is just, it's a regular application. I could leave forever and it'll delete anything I've ever done. Create a Tato. So now we have a blank Tato, just a thing. It's been given a completely randomized name, and we can change that name. So we're going to say, is responsible for doing the dishes. And also, your name is your name here, and I'd like that to be me, Curtis. Curtis is responsible for doing the dishes. But I don't actually want to be responsible for doing the dishes. I hate doing the dishes, so I'm going to share the Mergetato link with someone else. They're going to boot up the app. They have to go through the same process of proving that they're a human, finding pictures of bicycles, and then they're dropped into the same application. It tells them that their name is anonymous. They have to set their name to continue because otherwise I wouldn't be able to know who's doing the dishes. And we will call this person Jeremy Fuck Those Dishes. Okay. So now there's two people in this virtual room, this virtual dish doing room, and they can steal the potato from me. And of course, I mean, and this was the part that actually made it a little more complicated, was that when I stole the potato on this side, the other side got updated with that potato update. And so now I know that Jeremy is responsible for doing those dishes. I could also just release this. I don't want to do the dishes. No one wants to do the dishes. And when I do that, it'll propagate that information over to here. So now we know that nobody is responsible for doing the dishes. But let's imagine that I wanted to do the dishes. Let's make this something that I want rather than something I don't want. It makes a lot more sense if it's something that I'd actually want to do. Is responsible for picking the lunch menu, the lunch restaurant. And I want to be responsible for picking the lunch restaurant. And so Jeremy, fuck those dishes. And it's going to be Jeremy likes restaurants. I'm going to make that Jeremy Vaughn likes restaurants. I feel like that's very fancy. And so now Jeremy not responsible for picking the lunch restaurant. He can know that. I can let it go over here, but I can also put myself in line to like restaurants. And that's nice. It means that if Curtis over here releases the lunch restaurant, I was like, I've picked my lunch restaurant, and now I must release the Tato. Jeremy gets immediately moved to the liking of the restaurants. He is now the one who likes restaurants and is responsible for picking the lunch restaurant because he was at the top of the queue when I released the restaurant over here. If we scroll down, there's another feature or two. There's basically only 2 or 3 other features worth mentioning. I'm going to cover them right now. This is a very socially powered process. It's a little more complicated than a Slack or Discord channel. And so there's basically no security around these things. If you've got the link to the Tato, you can crack into the room and take the Tato from everyone else. And if you don't want people to do that, you should tell them not to do that or not give them the link. That's the only security present here. But we do keep an audit log of everything that has happened to the Tato, every name change, everything that's happened in the room. And this log will keep on going forever, so you can, see the history of your Tato. I think I cut the log off at 30 entries, and then it'll just put new things in and take things out as it goes. You can tie a Slack or Discord webhook to this. In fact, you can tie your own system to this if you want. It's just a webhook, so whenever something important happens to the stato of the Tato, you can then have it post about that in a channel, which I'm going to set up right now. So I've got a Discord channel. I'm going to, this is my personal, I'm going to edit this channel over here. Integrations, webhooks, create a webhook, and I'm going to create a name, TatoBot. The chat channel, copy the webhook URL, and save those changes and leave. And so now, here I could just paste that into the, oh my god, what have I done? Okay, so, well, that's a problem. I can see the webhook URL here. I am going to sanitize this, because if arbitrary strangers can see your webhook URL, they can do nasty things to you with it. So I'm just, here it just says webhook configured rather than showing you the actual webhook URL. Anyways, that's a subtle bug. The other subtle bug was that it complained that was too long, which it was too long for my UI element there. But let's not go into the details. I'll fix that off camera. But I've configured a webhook for this Slack or Discord integration, and now every time the Tato changes hands, I'm going to release the Tato. Here in my, oh my god, Jeremy Vaughn Restaurants released the Tato. So it's a status update on the Tato posted in the chat channel. And now if I steal the Tato, or queue for the Tato, this information gets posted to the channel. So you can keep track of the status of your Tato, which is the sort of thing that you might want to do if you have a Discord channel where you're all taking turns doing something specific and want to keep track of who the last person was responsible for that. Beyond that, we can set a timer. You can only be, for example, in charge of the Tato. I'm going to set a really short timer on here of 1 minute. So now I'm responsible for picking the lunch restaurant, but I'm only able to be responsible for picking the lunch restaurant for that 1 minute. When that minute is up, I will no longer be responsible for picking the lunch restaurant. Unfortunately, a demo of this feature takes a minimum of 1 minute, if you think about it, because that's the shortest time available. I feel like a really, really short time on this would be frustrating to have. I was like, 1 minute seems like the smallest amount of time. The maximum amount of time, I think, is 10 weeks, which is way too long. It might be 10 days. 10 days makes sense. I think you might not be able to set... I mean, I could just check as soon as this is over, or open a new Tato. No, I'll wait until... I'll wait until things happen here. We can move forward. But yeah, Curtis, responsible for picking the lunch restaurant for the next 7 seconds. And then once he's no longer responsible for picking the lunch restaurant, Jeremy Von Likes Restaurants will be responsible for picking the lunch restaurant. As well, this is time's up for Curtis. Now Jeremy Von Likes Restaurants gets the Tato. If I click this, it'll open the Tato, so anybody who has access to the chat can join in on the Tato systems. And now I'll put myself back in the queue for liking restaurants. Currently the queue is, you have to put yourself in there manually. I was thinking of adding a feature where you could just set up a rotation of people and then infinitely loop in the queue. Actually, I've thought of like 10 different additional features to add to this. But the problem with continuously thinking of new features to add to this thing is that you'll just keep on adding them forever and you'll never be done. So if people really turn out to like the Tato and ask me to make a loop-in queue, I will make them a loop-in queue because it doesn't sound too hard. But since nobody has asked me for that yet, since I haven't shown this to anybody yet, I'm not gonna do that unless someone asks me to. And that's kind of where I'm at with this, where I feel like it's time for me to put the pencil down and show other people Mergetato because it's done-ish. I can think of a dozen additional features to add to this because there are a whole bunch of different use cases it could be supporting. It could be very general and very practical for all kinds of little tasks. But I don't actually know what kinds of little tasks people want to use it for. So this is what it does right now, and I'm going to show it to you. Okay, and I'll release that Tato. I think that's all the features. You can change the Tato name, share the Tato with other people, see who has the Tato. I could remove Jeremy Von Likes Restaurants permanently from the Tato room, which will make him anonymous over here, and you can just rejoin because you have open access to the Tato. There's a 1 minute timer on this Tato. I could clear that. I did want to see what the maximum amount of time you could set on a Tato was. 9 days is the longest Tato timer. I didn't want to set this longer because of one tiny feature at the end here, which is the Tatos are automatically deleted 6 weeks after the last human interaction with the Tato. So if I made it possible for you to queue a Tato that took 7 weeks to fire, there's a good chance my system would automatically delete the Tato before you actually got to the Tato. Like, you just leave it sitting, and then 6 weeks later I delete the Tato, and then it would never change hands. So 6 weeks is also the maximum amount of time a Tato could be timed, but instead I set it at a nice placid 9 days. So you can have a week with your Tato and no longer. And that's pretty much the long and short of it. This is the Tato application. Oh, I guess one other thing is I can exit the Tato and just have a list of every Tato I've ever created. Each Tato is its own totally different space. So I have to create a whole new name and a whole new Tato. Curtis is responsible for creating new Tatos. And if I exit the Tato, now I've got 2 Tatos in my list. I can leave forever, and that will disengage from every Tato that I have access to, and I can start again from the very scratch. This is all tied to a session that is currently tied to your account, and the session only sticks around for like a day. So you can disappear and lose all of your Tatos forever. And that is totally fair, because if all you have to do to get back to the Tato is just save the link somewhere. You know, just put it in a notepad, and now you have the Tato until it gets deleted. I guess what could happen is, okay, so now I've got my creating new Tatos Tato, and I'm Curtis. And so I've got this link, and that's a link to the Tato, and I leave forever. And I've just fully deleted my account there. I've left forever. I have no Tatoes. I can re-accept the terms of service. I can prove that I'm a human again by finding train pictures. Look at those train pictures. And then, well, I'm back here, but my Tatoes are all gone. If I paste into my Tato, well, there's some guy named Curtis there, and he's got my Tato. And so I decided to make it so that if you set your name to someone else's name, you just become them. And so Anonymous ate the heart of Curtis, and so I've just become Curtis and adopted their Tato. And in that way, even if you lose your session and disappear from the site forever, so long as you've written your Tato link somewhere, you can always just come back and steal your position in the Tato once more. And since, I mean, you should, I don't say you should, but if you've got it in a channel like this, anybody can sort of jump in and jump out at any time. If someone irretrievably disappears from your Tato, so if I copy this back over to Jeremy, and he's just like, Barfinkel douche hat, and he just lets his session expire and never comes back, and you get sick of looking them in the list of all of the people who exist, you can just delete them forever, and then they're gone. And they're gone forever. And there's no more Barfinkel douche hat. And so over here, they've become anonymous, and they could rejoin and be like, no, I do exist. I, Barfinkel douche hat, demand my Tato. And that's it. That's the entire application. So I'm going to stop recording now. If you want to try the Tato, go to mergetato.com. And if you have lots of ideas for what I could do with the Tato, or what you'd like to do with the Tato, let me know at my Twitter account, which is @cube_drone. And that's it. That's this whole recording. Thanks for maybe watching it.